So are you one of those golfers that feels like you make a really consistent golf swing, but feel that the contact with the ball is terrible and feel like you've got every shot in the locker, you just don't know when they're coming? Well, if you are, you're probably like a lot of golfers that come and see me face to face. Now, if I was starting golf again, I wouldn't be worrying about swing path, plane, face or anything. But this one skill that I would work on with my golf would help you create power, accuracy, a good solid strike, and take care of everything else that you worry about. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sounds like the magic solution, doesn't it? Well, it just might be. So what you need to learn that most golfers might not even know if they're watching this is that if you can control the low point of your golf swing, you're going to improve your strike, you're going to be consistent with the path the club delivers into the ball, the club face is going to be more consistent because you're going to catch the ball in the same part of the swing every time, and it's just going to help you be a much better and more consistent golfer. So I know what you might be thinking. That last shot looked decent. So what golfers generally tell me they try and do is that they set up well to the golf ball and they want the ball to go dead straight. Now, it's not dead straight, but it's not a million miles off. But what we look at there is the low point of the golf swing was 2 inches ahead. The club's travelled down 2 degrees. The path is 1.2 degrees from the inside. Club face is 1.9 degrees closed and the carry is 163. So not all of you will be looking at TrackMan numbers, but if you wanted to hit the ball dead straight, I'd need my path to be 0 and the club face to be 0. And I do say to everybody, if you wanted to drive yourself insane, that's what I would be chasing. So I'm never chasing dead straight, but I think if you can take shape off the ball, it becomes a lot easier. So the simplest form of the golf swing is that club moves in a circular motion around your body. But because you stand to the side of the golf ball, the circle's on an angle, which creates a path into the golf ball. And then obviously where you catch the golf ball, you can see that it looks like, it's not actually the case, that the club face opens on the way back, so then closes through. So if you understand that if the bottom of the circle is in the same place or a similar place every time, it's much more consistent to be path and face closer every single time. So what we see with most golfers though is they set up to the golf ball, they're worried like mad about guiding the club, steering the club into the bottom because they're worried about this or wrist angles. So most of the time I see with golfers a really poor strike, the ball curving over to the right, and we see their low point 2.2 inches behind, club's travelled up 2 degrees, club path was out to in, or you might say over the top for some of you, and the club face was 14.5 degrees open, and most impressively, a carry at 94 yards. But not every golfer will fat the ball. Sometimes they'll thin it, sometimes they'll top it, and that's because when that low point's behind, they miss the ground, the club travels up, and it hits halfway at the ball. But the problem with the next swing for some golfers is just out of nowhere, they might suddenly get the low point way ahead, the club's travel down loads more, all of a sudden the path's 4.5 degrees from the inside and the club face is only slightly open. So if you're not consistent with that low point, like I said before, you're catching the ball in a different part of the swing, but also the different part means that club face is different. So what we want to work on is, as a general rule, when you set up to the golf ball, as you swing, your low point should be opposite that left armpit. But we're not talking about just being there, because you can see I'd touched the ground behind. We want to get to the top, move towards the target, which is going to get that low point way ahead. And then as the body's turning out the way, we can see now that's going to be maybe 3-4 inches ahead. And I'm going to touch the mat much further ahead. So the first thing I want you to do with some practice swings is get used to touching the ground. Because that's something I never really did as a kid, never took divots. And even though I played to a good standard, I don't think I was ever particularly good at this skill. So we're going to do some practice swings, move towards the target, turn out the way. I could definitely see there, touch much further ahead. And if you're in a studio, or a driving range, I would probably do a good half dozen swings, getting that feel of touching the ground ahead of the golf ball. That's going to get the club travelling down, hitting ball and then ground first. We all get told, don't we, about it's important to hit down. Don't try and hit down, don't try and hit up. Control your low point and the club will take care of itself. So once you do a few of those, then we want you to just make a normal swing, shift into that lead side. And even though the strike wasn't great there, we can see 2 inches ahead, club's travelled down 2.6 degrees, a little bit from the inside with the club face slightly closed. So that was a really poor strike. Not showed strike there, good job, but nearly missed that one out the toe. So let's go again, shift into that lead side. Much better strike to go with that. 3 inches ahead, club down 3 degrees, incredibly close to 0-0 and carry at 168. And it is unbelievable the number of golfers online, see me face to face, that worry like mad about out to win. And they look on video and video does not show path at all. Comment below on that, but I'm going to help you understand why. So if my low point was behind the golf ball, as the club travels up, it's actually starting to move more left. Whereas if my low point's ahead of the golf ball, it's traveling down and more from the inside. So don't worry about what video's showing. Low point gives you a much better chance of delivering the club nice and neutrally like that. I wasn't trying to go straight there, but you can see, if I don't go to 1 decimal point, I've achieved my 0-0. But this is such an important skill, and I do genuinely think if you get good at controlling low point, whenever the golf ball's on the ground, the low point needs to be ahead of the ball. With the short irons, the ball's very central. As the clubs get longer, a little bit further forward. Don't make the mistake of too far forward. But once you get to driver, obviously left heel's great to get the low point behind. But for now, most golfers struggle with contact on the ground. So you can do that practice swing again. Back, shift. See, I touched a long way ahead there, but I love that for me. And again, easy with no golf ball. Can I set up? Again, felt a good solid strike. Low point 3 inches ahead. Club 1.5 degrees from the inside. Club face 2.6 degrees closed and 166 carry. So you can see there's no massive numbers with path and face, because if you're catching the ball in the correct part of the golf swing, gives you a great chance. But when I see golfers struggle, 99% of the time, it's because their low point is either consistently behind or is all over the place. I mean, I think there was a stat I saw a while ago that tour players' low point moves about 1 inch when they make swings with every club, whereas higher handicappers move closer to kind of 8 to 10 inches. So you can see that's a huge issue. When that little golf ball at the bottom of the swing, you might be up to 10 inches different with where that low point is, whereas tour players are only 1 inch different. Imagine if you could get closer to that, how much more consistent you're going to be. And the key is not really changing too much at setup, but making sure that first movement from the top of the backswing isn't body related there, upper body. It's trying to get your pressure and your weight shifting towards the target before anything else moves. Then you can unwind. We can see we touch the ground ahead of the golf ball, and then simple as it can be, we're going to set up, put a great swing on it, hit lots of good shots. And like I said, if I could rewind the clock 30 odd years and learn that skill to begin with, I think I'd have been a much better golfer, much quicker. And even the little issues I have in my swing now, I don't think I'd have.